Good morning, friends, and welcome back to our channel, and welcome back to episode number 3 of our Christmas in July series. Before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, subscribe, turn on that little notifications bell, and make sure it's set to all so that you're notified whenever I post a new video. All right, so let's get started. So in today's video, I am going to be using some vintage pieces to make some really cute Christmas decorations. I have 3 different vintage flour sifters here that we're going to be turning into Christmas scenes that can be used for centerpieces on tables or just as little accent pieces throughout your home at Christmas time. These can be found pretty much at any thrift store. I find mine at Goodwill bins usually. So here is one of them that I have right here. It's a Bromwell's measuring sifter. It's a really nice vintage one with a red wooden handle. It's in pretty good condition too. It does have a little bit of wear to it, but I like the ones that have the wear because it gives it more authenticity that it's an actual vintage piece. So there's that one, which is a larger size one. This one actually measures in diameter about 5 inches in diameter. Then I have a medium size one. This one I thought was really cute. It's a Foley with a little black handle. It's a little bit smaller. This one only measures about 4 inches in diameter. And then I have a little small one that is actually just a sifter. There's no handle on this one. And this one is about 3.5 inch in diameter. So 3 different sizes. Obviously, you could use whatever. You don't have to use a sifter. I just think the sifter idea is kind of cute. All right, so we're going to start with the large one in this video. Right here. So you're going to need to also collect some supplies for it. I've collected a few random things. I don't know what really I'm going to use in what project yet, but I have a bunch of different stuff that I've kind of collected. This little vintage Santa Claus ornament. I have a whole bunch of Santa Claus ornaments. As you can see, I keep them in a jar like this. Whenever I find a little vintage Santa Claus of some sort, I will put it in this jar, and I use this for both decorating and crafting. So I actually am going to use this guy right here. He's like a fabric Santa that has a wire inside so you can bend him. And he's really cute. He's got a little jingle bell on him, and he's a good size too. He's about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 6 inches tall, but I think I'm going to have him sitting down in this project. So he's going to go in the large sifter project. Also, I have some of my other paper pieces that you can get in my Etsy shop. If you watched my live that I did yesterday, I was putting together these cute little shiny bright miniature ornament boxes, and I finished them up last night before I went to bed. But I made some little ornaments out of beads and glued them to the inside box. So I have a few different ones here. These are those little miniature lights that I found. And those are actually vintage mini lights that I found. So I glued some in the box. These ones are little pearl beads. And then I also made some little miniature candy canes as well. So you can do whatever you want, but there's just some ideas. So I'm going to use a couple of these in this project also. I probably won't use all of them, but I just used a few of them. And again, you can get the box covers to make these in my Etsy, Shop Wicked Vintage. The link will be in the description below. They are a cardstock cover that come flat. So it's a cutout cover that I use my Cricut to cut them out. They come flat, so you have to assemble them. You have to put the plastic window in if you want it, and you have to make the bottom of the boxes. But as long as you have the cover, you can use the cover as a template to make the bottom, and you can make the bottom out of any cardstock. So very easy. Also, I have a couple of my little paper pieces. These are all in paper kits that are in my Etsy shop. This is just a little vintage. I don't know what this originally was. I think it might have been a little vintage book page. And so I turned it into just a little booklet with some actual book page. So this is in my labels, my Christmas labels kit. So I'm going to use that. I also have 12 Days of Christmas. This is another little flyer that is in the labels kit. And then I have some of the miniature little golden book covers that I turned into little mini books just with vintage book page as well. So we'll use this one in this kit also. And then I'll probably use some other of the labels in my other sifter projects that I do. But for right now, I think I'm just working on the large one. Okay, then I have bottle brush trees. I just grabbed a handful of bottle brush trees. I collect these whenever I see them. I will, hold on to them. Usually they have them at the holiday time in Dollar Tree or the Target dollar spot, or they have them at Hobby Lobby, I think pretty much year round. So you can get these pretty much anytime. I also pick them up at the Goodwill bins if I see them. I have a few different miniature Christmas bulbs, just some random ones. Again, these are just plastic bulbs. You can get these at Dollar Tree at the holiday time. I usually stock up so that I have a lot left over for crafting. I don't know, again, if I'm going to be using these in the large sifter project, but I have some little mini cookie cutters as well. Some little tiny mini, I think these are gingerbread lady or angel cookie cutters. I have 2 of them and they're small. So I'm going to actually set these aside because I also have some vintage measuring spoons. I always grab these at the Goodwill bins. I find them all the time. I have a good collection of them. I do have a bunch up for sale in my Etsy shop also, but I use these in crafts a lot because they make great kind of accent pieces. So I have those, and I think that's just about it. I also have some paper, some more cardstock. This is just a piece of cardstock that came off of the packaging. So I'm going to use this. It's a nice, like a heavier, not quite cardboard, but a little like a heavy cardstock. So we're going to use this as a base to our project. All right, let's get started. Like I said, this might not be all that I'm using, but this is just kind of ideas of some of the stuff that I'm using. So, okay, so first of all, I'm going to take my cardstock that I have here, and I'm going to take my sifter, and on the flat side that sits on the table, I'm just going to set it on my cardstock, and we're going to cut out a template. And I'm just doing that by taking a pencil and just tracing around the outer edge of the bottom of my sifter, and then I'm just going to go ahead and cut that out. Now basically what I'm doing is I'm just making a platform or a surface to put my scene on. And usually what I will do is I'll cover it with something, and then I'll use glue to glue everything down. You might need to mess around with this a little bit because the bottom might be slightly different than the top, but we basically want this top surface to cover the top of our sifter, just like that. And this one actually fits pretty well. Most of them are, pretty cylindrical so that they fit really, really good. So yeah, this one fits really well. It's still functionable on the inside. I'm not doing anything really on the inside down in here because that way if you wanted to use it again, you actually could. So, all right. So now what I'm gonna do is I have my hot glue. I'm just gonna put a little bit of glue all around the edge and just glue this base down. If you have any little gaps or anything like that, that's okay, because chances are we'll be covering this up with some sort of tinsel or trim. But I'm just kind of going just all around the edges with the glue just to make sure that that sits in place nicely and that it's not going to bend or flop open. Okay, so I found a piece of fabric that I liked. It's just a scrap piece of fabric, and then I cut out a circle that is about 7 inches in diameter. I wanted it big enough so that I had about 1 inch that would hang over the top of my sifter here. So as you can see, it's just big enough. It covers the entire top, and there's a little lip that hangs over just like this. So what I am going to do is I'm going to use you can use Fabrifix. Actually, I think that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to use some Fabrifix just to glue this down up top, and then I'll use a little hot glue to push the edges down. So Fabrifix is great for paper, and it's great for fabric, so it's all around one of my favorite glues. So I'm just putting enough on the top, and then I'm making sure I have the side that I want. I think I want, let's see, I think I want this side. All right, so we'll just set that right down. Make sure it's centered. Make sure you have enough fabric on all sides, and then just kind of push that right down into the glue. So it creates a nice flat surface without any bumps and lumps. And then I'm gonna go around the edges with my hot glue and just put a little glue on the edge like such, and push that fabric down into the edge, just to kind of make like a little lip all the way around. And it's okay if it's not all flat. It looks good that it's kind of just like laying over with some little ruffles to it, kind of just like that. There. And I'm going to put a little bit right under the handle here also, just to make sure that it's stuck down good. Okay, so now it's time to start decorating our piece here. So I always kind of try to figure out what I want the front of my piece to be, and I want the handle in the front. What I also like to do is I like to work with kind of the larger pieces first. So I know I want to use these two in this project, these two little bottle brush trees. And then obviously my Santa Claus. So I'm thinking I want Santa to kind of be sitting like this, with maybe like one tree to his side, and then maybe one tree kind of to his back, something like that. So what I'll probably do first is I will probably try to glue my Santa down, because I think I like him just like that. Now you could, I'm actually going to glue him right to this base like this, but you could sit him on something, depends on how high or how tall. I find that layering things works good. But I always kind of start with like my main focal pieces first and make sure that they fit, and then I'll fill in around them. So we're going to start with Santa Claus here. I am going to glue him right down with hot glue. Let me make sure I have enough hot glue in my glue gun. All right, so I'm going to just put some glue on the bottom. I have him sitting down here. And that's what's nice about using something that has, that's bendable and that has some structure to it, is you can kind of maneuver it the way you want. So he has wire inside him. So I'm gonna just sit him right about there. Sometimes you have to go back in with some more glue and kind of go around different areas of him. Like I'll set a little bit more right there, but just hold him down until he, for the most part, sets. Okay, and I also have these little bottle brush trees. So these are nice because they also are on like a little metal piece, so you can move these around as well. So I'm going to glue one kind of just to the front of his arm here. Put a good amount of glue on the bottom of that. Stick that right there. A lot of it is kind of just holding things and waiting till glue sets. And then as you can see, his arm is on the back of the tree, so I'm going to also put a little bit of glue right there, just so that he's like holding on to that back of the tree. And it also helps to sturdy the scene. I find that if you have multiple things, like especially taller things that tend to move or wobble, if you end up like gluing a lot of pieces together, it gives it a little bit more structure and holds everything together a little bit nicer. Okay, and I have another bottle brush tree. I think I'm gonna put that one kind of back here, just behind him. Okay, so now that I have kind of my main pieces glued down where I want them, now it's time to kind of fill in some of this space with some other things. So I'm gonna use this little booklet that I made out of one of the printables in my shop. And I'm going to use this, since it's bigger, I'm going to kind of put this on the back side of Santa Claus back here. It gives it a little bit of height. It fills in a little bit of that space back there. So for this, I am just going to set it kind of where it would set. And then I'm going to put a little glue right where it kind of touches him. So on his hat, it touches, and then I'll put a little bit down on the bottom just to kind of hold it there. I don't want to like fix it to anything so that it's not moving, but I just want to kind of hold it there in the background so that the pages are still, you know, able to move. But I don't want it like falling off. So if you go back here, you can see, you can kind of maybe glue it right to his bag a little bit. So that's what I kind of do. I just kind of glue the spots that touch, but I still give it some movement. Then I'm going to use this little 12 Days of Christmas brochure here. I'm going to distress this up with my archival vintage photo ink because I don't like those like white edges. I want to make this look really like old and vintage. So we'll just distress this up. The nice thing about incorporating like paper items into these crafts is it gives it a lot more focal, like there's things that you can actually look at when you're looking at the piece. You know, you can look up close and read that it's, you know, something different. It just gives it more for the eye to look at. All right, so I'm going to use this little brochure. I'm going to have it kind of like sitting beside the Christmas trees here. So I'm thinking like probably like this, kind of on an angle, just sitting down, kind of hanging off the edge. And I will use my hot glue for this as well. You could use Fabrifix, but since I'm just trying to put this down quickly, I'm just going to use the hot glue. All right, so we'll just set that down. And you can even, if you wanted to, take and kind of curl these edges a little bit. So it almost looks like the edges are like curled off the edge of the sifter. And you could even curl up the other edge back here just a little bit. Like that. Just go back in with your distress, just so it looks kind of, gives it a little dimension. Okay. Now I'm going to take my little shiny Brite boxes that I have here, and I think I'm going to put one kind of like on its side, and then another one kind of down in the front down here. I'm basically just filling in all of my little pieces and edges. So do I want to put it? Yeah, I think I'm going to put it upright. So I'm going to go just like that with it. So I'll put a little bit of glue on the bottom. I'll just kind of set it where I want to set it. And then again, glue where it touches other things. So if it touches, it's touching his hand on this one. So I'm just gluing it to his hand and then flipping it around on the back. Maybe put a little bit of glue on the tree where it touches the tree. So that's what I do. I just kind of glue touch points together just so that things kind of stay together and don't move around. Okay. Sometimes it takes a minute just to hold everything, set everything in place. All right, so it looks like Santa is here doing some research, doing some reading on different things before he heads out to deliver his Christmas presents. And then this one right here, we're going to kind of just set on his foot, kind of on an angle. So we're only going to be touching like this side over here. And then again, I'll put a little on his foot. And we'll set that one down kind of just on an angle. So it sets there nicely. Put a little bit more glue right there. Just hold it down for a second. Again, I've said this before in different crafts, but whenever you're doing things like this, honestly, there's no right or wrong way to organize things together. But I find that if you start with like 3 groups of items. Start with your large focal pieces first, put those where you want. Then your medium size kind of accent pieces, put those around your focal pieces, and then fill in with your smaller like fill-in pieces. So you're basically kind of doing 3 layers when you're putting things together like this, and that's what makes it more visually appealing, and it gives your eye to focus on more than just, well, you'll look at Santa, then you'll look at, oh, look at his cute little Christmas bulbs, and then you'll look at the papers, and so there's a lot for your eye to look at. And lastly, I have the Night Before Christmas little golden book. Now this is the medium size one that I'm using here. I'm actually going to glue it right to him, so it's like he's holding it. So I'm gonna put a little bit of glue just on the edge here, and we'll glue that to his hand. And then I'm gonna put a little bit more glue on the outer page where it hits this tree, just so that it's not moving about. Okay, so now we're gonna go in with our smaller pieces, like these little Christmas balls, and I'm just kind of laying them in blank spots just to see what works and what doesn't work. I like to fill in all of that extra little space with something to look at. So I kind of figure out where I want things first. So I think I'm gonna put this one right here up against his shoe, and then we'll put this green one kind of leaning up behind it a little bit. And again, I just glue in touch spots. So wherever the item touches something else, that's where I will glue. All right, and I'm gonna go around the back, and I think I wanna put another bulb, like maybe right back here. Just touching where it touches the back of the book and the back of Santa's sack here. Then I just kind of go all the way around and work my way around and just fill in the silver one. Put a little silver one in the front right there. Okay, so I think this one is looking pretty good, and every space looks pretty full except for this little space right in the front here. So I've gone ahead and made a little bow, and we're just gonna stick this right in the front, kind of on the handle, as you can see, just to fill in a little bit more of this space. And again, I used just a little bit of scrap fabric that I had. I just tied it into a cute little bow. And then we'll just stick this right there. Glue that right down. And then we'll have one done, and we can start working on the next one. Okay, so I've gathered up a few more things for my second project. We're gonna use this medium-sized Foley sifter, which, what did I say it was? I think it was 4 inches in diameter. So just like we did on the first one, I'm gonna take my cardstock and we're going to trace out the bottom and cut out a base. Again, just like we did before, we're gonna glue this little base just to the top of our sift. So to cover this one, I have this pretty little vintage napkin. It's got some stains on it, so I'm okay with cutting it. But I like this little embroidered print on the front or on the corners, so I want to utilize that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my pinking shears and I'm going to cut out kind of like a square with the fabric that I want to use. And since this one was a 4-inch diameter, let's cut like a 5 to 6 inch square. I'm just going to kind of estimate how much I need. You could use little handkerchiefs, you could use doilies, any type of little fabric that you want to use. You could just use scrap fabric, but I happen to have this one, so I thought, and like I said, it's got some stains and it's not in great shape, so I'm going to try to use it where I can use it. Okay, so now I have this right here. As you can see, it's just kind of a nice little pretty design. Find what I want my front to be. Now this one is a little different because the Foley marking is on this side and the handle is on the opposite side. So really, I think I'm just gonna have this be like the front. So I'm gonna put my little doily right over the top like this. Again, I'm gonna use my Fabrifix to glue this down. And then let's make sure we have the right side up that we want shown. And we're gonna just lay that fabric right in that Fabrifix. Now you can always trim off excess afterwards if you've cut it a little bit too big, which I think I'm gonna probably have to trim a little bit of it off. So I have this. Now it's a little bit long and I don't really wanna cut it down. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my hot glue and just like I did before, I'm gonna kind of go around the edge and glue down just a little bit in spots like such, just so that it doesn't pop up. And then on the corners here where it's a little long, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make kind of like a little fold. And on top of my fabric, I'll put a little bit more glue. I'm gonna just do a little fold like this. So that way it's not as long all the way around, because I want to be able to see this little foley here. So I'm just gluing these little kind of like folds or tucks as I work my way around. It just kind of gives it a little extra like ruffle around the edge. And I'm going to do the same over here where it covers the handle. I'm going to just do a little fold. Like that. Just so that there's not a lot of fabric just hanging everywhere. Everything kind of has a place. We'll set that off to the side. Now we're going to make our focal point, and we're going to make a snowman out of a couple vintage white, these are the threaded Christmas balls, and they have the little white threading. I have 2 of them. Sometimes you can get these at Dollar Tree. I think that's where this one came from last year or a couple years ago. The smaller ones, sometimes you can get the little small threaded ones at Dollar Tree. But the larger ones are harder to find. Most of them are actual vintage bulbs. I found a bag of them at the Goodwill bins, and we're gonna make a little snowman out of this. And to do that, I am just gonna pull off the little tag here. I'm just gonna snip it. Just the little hang tag that was on the small one. And this one also is starting to fray a little bit, but that's okay. We'll put that towards the back. And just where the hook used to be on this one, I just snipped the hook off so it's flat. So there's nothing on here that's gonna stick out or poke up. So we're going to just glue these 2 together like that to make the body of our snowman. Put a little hot glue, and then let's see, I guess we'll use this side. So we'll just glue those 2 pieces together. Now I also have another piece of scrap fabric. This was the same fabric that we used on the base of the last project that we just did. I just cut a little strip out with my pinking shears, and we're gonna use this as just a little scarf to kind of go around our little snowman here. And we'll glue this on. So I'll just put a little bit of glue where I want it to sit. The decorating part and kind of designing part is the fun part for me. I love kind of coming up with things that are cute using older vintage items. Okay, so now what also we're gonna do is we have one of these vintage measuring spoons. We're gonna have our little snowman sitting in this vintage measuring spoon, just like he's kind of like maybe a dollop of flour that's been measured out, since we're kind of going with the whole cooking theme here with the sifters, with the flour sifter. So we're gonna glue him right to this measuring spoon, and I'll just put a little bit of hot glue just in the bottom of the measuring spoon, and then we'll sit him kind of how we want. I think I'll have him like that. Just gonna sit him right in that measuring spoon. Okay, I also have some other little things that we can use to decorate, because he has no eyes, no nothing. I cut a little tiny scrap piece of orange ribbon. Now this is the only orange ribbon that I had that I thought would work for this. I want to make a little carrot nose for him. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little tiny piece of scrap fabric, and it does have polka dots on it, so I'm going to cut around the polka dots just really carefully. This little tiny, it's very small. I'm just cutting a little piece like that. Okay, and then I'm going to make almost like a little tiny fabric cone out of this scrap fabric. Okay, so I've got a little tiny cone here, and then I'll cut off all of this little extra. All right, so once we have our little cone, then we can glue that right on to him, so at least he has a little nose. Now, if you didn't want to make this on your own, you could, use a snowman that you already have. I know I have been collecting ornaments every time I go to Goodwill bins and I find Christmas ornaments. I've been collecting ornaments. I have like Santa Clauses, and I have random ornaments and snowmen and reindeer. So I kind of keep them all categorized so that I can use them in different projects like this. But I like to use up other things like this to make different unique pieces. Okay, so now I have some black beads. These are teeny tiny little black beads. We're gonna put some eyes on him. You can use a pair of little tweezers if it's easier for you. I'm just gonna do a little dot where I want his eyes of the glue. Now this glue gun that I have has a little tiny tip on it. It is a wireless glue gun, which I really like, with a little tiny tip. I got it from, I'm pretty sure I got this one from either Joann Fabrics or Michaels. One of the two. So I'm just putting those little teeny tiny black beads right where my glue is for eyes on our little snowman. There he goes. Now he's starting to look like a snowman. So in addition to everything else that I collect when I go to Goodwill, I always grab buttons. I have a good amount of them, but I'm always using them. I use them a lot in paper crafting. I think those two are fine. We'll just use those two. And we'll just hot glue these right on. So we'll put one right here, and we'll put another one right there. Put the bigger one at the top. Like that. Put the other one right there. He's looking really cute. He doesn't have a hat yet though. I could take some more of that fabric that we made the scarf out of and make like a little Pom Pom hat. So I'm making kind of like a cone, as you can see, just like this. It doesn't have to be big, but I'm just gonna make like a little cone. Glue it together so that the cone stays. And then I will cut the bottom off so it has like a cone shape. Oh, that's cute. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so I have a little pom-pom. You can get these little pom-poms at the Dollar Tree also at Christmas time. I have a bunch from last year. They're just the little mini pom-poms. So I'm just gonna go ahead and glue his hat down really quickly. Just a couple little dots of glue on here. Stick that down, and then we'll glue the pom-pom just to the top of his hat. All right, I also have a little bit of this red cording, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna line the outside of his hat with this red cording just to cover up the glue, because I don't want the glue showing. So I'm gonna just, again, put a little bit more glue on just around the seam of the hat, and then take this little cording and just use it to cover up that seam. Now it's got like a nice little edge to it. If there is any little excess glue that you need to pull off, you can just pull it off with your tweezers. So I've been playing around a little bit with some greenery and some little bottle brush trees. So I think I have my main focal point decided here. We're going to put a bottle brush tree in the back. Then I have this little miniature, it's a half ring of a candlestick holder. It used to go around a candlestick. So I'm going to use that kind of in the front near the handle here, just to kind of give it a little bit of greenery. And then we're going to take our little snowman on the spoon and we're going to kind of set that on top of the greenery like that. So that way it sits upright and the greenery kind of holds the spoon up so that he's not like falling over. So I went ahead and glued that down. I have some more of these little vintage tags that come out of my kit. And I think I'm going to use this one. It's a vintage postcard, shrunk down. I am going to round the corners on this one, and then we'll distress this up with my ink. And I think we're going to use this kind of in the background. Now I want this, I'm going to do the back too of it. I'm going to just really distress the back so it looks like it's old. And I'm going to kind of bend it a little bit so that way it's not really straight. But I think I'm going to stick that kind of in the back, just like that. So it's kind of popping out behind him. And then just where it kind of touches him and touches the tree is where I'll stick some glue. And I think I'm going to take and just take these little corners, this corner while it's on here, and just kind of turn this corner out just a little bit. I kind of like to do that. I kind of like to like roll the corners and edges. Just gives it a little bit more, I don't know, something about it just adds to the look. So I have a few different ones. I have this one too, Winslow's Ice Skates. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to distress this up and I might put this in this area right here. And that is looking cute. You can be so creative with these. I love making them. I make them a lot for gifts. Last year I gave a few of these as gifts for teachers for Jameson's school. But yeah, they're just fun to make out of like everyday items that you can get anywhere. Lastly, I have two other small ones. I have a little Santa's Village ticket, or I have a 5-cent ticket. I think the Santa's Village ticket is too dark, so I'm not going to use that one, but I like the little 5-cent one. Again, I'm just going to distress this one up. And I think we're going to put this one kind of just on the front right here. Let's see where it will touch. Like corner down here. Maybe a little on the top up here. I think that is super cute. Super, super cute. Okay, now just to finish it off, I have a few more little things to fill in places around, fill in empty spaces. I pulled out some more miniature balls. I have some miniature jingle bells. You can get all of these at Dollar Tree for the most part. All right, so there's a couple different ones that I'm gonna do. I'm gonna end this video now, but I will show you quickly what the third one looks like at the end of the video. But thanks for crafting along with me today. Be sure to like and subscribe to my channel and stick around for more Christmas in July crafts and videos coming up. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Take care.